Hi everybody, I see many familiar faces from these last days, and I am very happy that you're back. We were concerned, you were thinking, oh, now you have heard everything and we have exhausted you like to the death, and you have the workshops and the late hours and everything. But thank you so much for coming back, and also thanks to those of you who are just joining this public program who have not been part of the preceding academy days. Maybe next time you'll be inspired to sign up for it. I hope very much there'll be a next time in Bangkok. But wait, 1 second, I need to just quickly jump. And when you need to quickly jump, you do it like this. Okay. So, yes, here we are. So a lot of you have already gotten a feeling, I hope, of what this Urban Media Art Academy is, or like our visions of what it's going to be as this network global academy. And as fancy as it sounds, this is really what we want to achieve with it. We really want to develop an art academy dedicated to urban media art, particularly, that can operate in between universities, arts and culture organizations, NGOs, technical universities, in between all those city labs, city governments, I should mention that. I'm looking at you, Laia, because you will speak of that in a minute. But all these different institutional and also non-institutional entities that actually work together, or whose permissions you need, whose money you need, whose knowledge you need, whose inspiration you need when you work in this field of urban media art. So the academy here is built up of these 3 pillars, which has a lot of subtopics or subdomains under them. But what I think I really want to say at this point is that before we came to Bangkok, we had an idea about what we were going to do. We knew we had a lot of wonderful participants signing up. We knew we had a lot of great speakers coming and great local speakers from here and from Chiang Mai. So we were envisioning like, okay, this is going to be a melting pot. It cannot go wrong. At least we have a lot of enthusiasm. But I think it's pretty safe to say on behalf of both Susa and I that after these days here in Bangkok, we are extremely excited about the positive feedback, the enthusiasm from the participants also, a positive energy, a lot of hard work, and you stayed awake. And there are many different things that come together. And I'm actually, now that I mentioned that we want to make this global networked academy, I honestly really believe we are going to make it. And I really believe that you're going to be part of a global network of practitioners in this field. So I just want to say thank you again very much for, personally, for giving me this very happy feeling that I'll take away with me from here. So just briefly a note, why are we even making the Urban Media Art Academy? I know I addressed this a little bit on the first days, but some of you are just here for today for the first time. Or actually, maybe I should rather ask, why urban media art? Because besides the need that we see, and we see this through our networks in which we work, through our when we visit universities or go to conferences or speak to artists or curate exhibitions, besides for this need for an educational initiative that operates in between universities and other organizations, there is another, perhaps more urgent need, which we see when we start, or if we just take a brief look at what's going on in our cities today. And this is relevant because we speak of urban media art. So we see worldwide how media aesthetics are radically transforming urban environments, architecture, and skylines. Advertising is now wrapping in entire shopping malls, like we see here at the Tamam Anggrek shopping mall in Jakarta. Private companies buy ownership of cultural events, like here in St. Petersburg at the Palace Square, where Aeroflot has very generously sponsored the New Year's show in 2015. We see that leisure shows are now redefining the experience of ancient cultural heritage, and this is what you can now encounter if you visit the pyramids in Giza, we also see how light and sound shows are taking up entire skylines, which is not a problem in itself. But if we consider that this is, and this is a Symphony of Light's skyline in Hong Kong, which was inaugurated in 2004. And when this started, only 17 buildings were employed. But today there are 47 buildings that are being employed with these shows. And this is going on every night, just to say. And I think it's really beautiful. But think about how fast it goes. I read somewhere, sorry I forgot the source, but in Nanchang, in China, there's another new light and sound show that is taking up 293 buildings. That is quite wild. So we have to consider how fast media aesthetics are evolving. Also, at a more sort of emotional, maybe sensitive level, architectural lighting schemes and projections are now sympathetically, of course, they visualize how they show sympathy after, for example, terror attacks. And the first time we encountered this, and maybe you've seen it in the news, it was after the attack on Paris, not the one on Charlie Hebdo, but the second one, where all over the world, arts institutions, statues, many such sites were projected with the colors of the French flag. And I saw many different news channels, and they were all using it as a background, and it was like I don't think it was coordinated. I think it's quite spontaneous. Someone obviously started doing it before that, but using that as a way of showing sympathy and memorial, I first encountered it after that attack. And I did some research on the internet just on the days that follow, and these are not facts, but I counted at least 62 cities that were showing the French flag. And I think that's very beautiful, that we can use media aesthetics to express our emotions and kind of send messages. But we should also consider that there are attacks going on in many countries whose flags are not being shown. The French flag was shown. After the Brussels attack, the flag was shown, but I have not yet seen a Syrian flag being displayed. Maybe since then, now I have to admit it's a year ago I last took a look at this, but so maybe it's changed. But we should be careful about this worldly emotional imbalance that can also be nurtured when we are very quick to set up media aesthetics and maybe we don't think it through. So don't get me wrong, I think it's very nice to show tribute. I just think that everybody counts equally. Then media aesthetics like light in our environments are increasingly syncing with our emotional dimension. For example, they try to, what we say, they sync with they enhance our experience, and they try to sort of mirror what we feel like or what kind of special day it is today. And this you see here is maybe recognizable as the Empire State Building, which communicates, and it has actually done that since, let me just remember, I think it was since the 80s, I'm not sure, but it has been showing the colors of the American flag, red, white, and blue for such days as Memorial Day and other American national dates of note. But and then it also started to show, for example, green to celebrate the end of the Ramadan, and red in color in honor, of World AIDS Day. Also, it's all very nice. But when pink and white are shown on the tower to mark the Victoria's Secret fashion show in New York, that's where I think that the emotional mirroring or that cultural mirroring is going a little out of hand. And also on December 8, 2015, I noted burgundy and white were shown to celebrate the arrival of the Qatar Airways in the office spaces of the tower. And I mean, I think that's a little different than marking cultural days. So in these examples of misuses of the city's emotional tower, I think it's almost coming to inject a state of mind rather than reflect a state of mind. And then for a final example here, I think, are you familiar with this? Does anyone know what this is? Yes. It is after the Twin Towers. It's a tribute in light. It's a memorial installation that went up after 9/11, in memorial of what happened in New York. And you can see these from really far away. They're extremely powerful. The problem is, this picture actually shows, it's taken from below, and it actually shows from last year how birds were being trapped in the light, and they were just like flapping and flapping around, and some of them bumped into each other, fell down and died. So they had to shut off this beautiful memorial artistic installation 4 times during its installation there, or during the night, sorry. And that's where I think, and now I'm actually pointing my fingers at the art, you know, I'm not pointing my fingers at the evil advertisers, but that's where I think there's an indication that it might be going a little too far, or maybe we forgot something on the way in our desire to impress the world with media aesthetics in urban spaces. Because, oh yeah, one more thing I want to note is that we should remember that underneath all the light, underneath all these impressing visuals, we also have a computability that control them. And we should remember how sensors, interactive and responsive functions and algorithms are increasingly controlling our cities. And what I show you here is light. The real problem is probably big data aggregation and prediction that is going on, but that's at least what they kind of reveal. So what we should remember is that media aesthetics in urban environments are part of an ecosystem, and at this point, with the pace of progress or the pace of development, it's actually disturbing the ecosystem. It's disturbing the patterns of birds that want to migrate, or they cannot no longer find their way. They cannot navigate according to the stars and moonlight. So we need to be careful with how the sensibility of this system, this aesthetic system in our cities, is being managed. So in the examples I just showed briefly here, a question we need to ask is, where is the human being? And are these initiatives and aesthetics and beautiful, mesmerizing environments, are they really for our human cultural embodiment? Are they for us? Not just our eyes, and if we want to have a fun night out, but are they really good for us? And for one thing, now turning to urban media art, and just before I introduce the first speaker, urban media art, I really believe, can contribute to bring more consideration into our implementation of media aesthetics at an urban scale. I'm not saying that's a duty for urban media art, but I think that the art has a human at heart, and that's why I think it's extremely important that it mixes with our urban environments. And when the art is digital, it can, in other ways, I believe, interfere with the digital media aesthetics structures that we have. It can shock us. It can make us rethink our connection to place, rethink what's going on, sort of anchor ourselves in our perception, in our aesthetic reality. And it can bring awareness to us and maybe even stimulate a critical state of being. So that was my brief introduction to the actual title, I believe, of this symposium today, what urban media art can do, going back to a point that we were also announcing on the first day. So in a minute, I will introduce the first speaker and be actually making a change. Laia is going first, but whom you will hear from tonight are Laia Sanchez, who's head of Collaboratory and European Projects and Social Media Lab at City Lab. Then we will have Professor Priya Kompusaviro, who's a professor at the ESAC Lab at the King Mongkut University of Technology, Thonburi. And then we'll have a break. Then we'll have Professor Maurice Benignon, a new media artist and a professor at City University, Hong Kong. And the way we will do it is that each speaker will have around 30 minutes. Then we'll just allow for a few questions, if you have any burning questions. But at the end, we'll have a panel and bring all the discussions together. So now I am delighted to present the first speaker. Yes, please give her a hand.